Welcome to another episode of Ring Walk Boxing Podcasts. I am Bean, and it's Sunday, Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. So I want to share love all over the world with all the madness that's going on across the world, and things that are beyond my control, beyond a lot of our control. Um, when it comes to different things, but I ain't gonna get all political. But I think you understand where I'm going. It's out of the hands of a lot of us. A lot of us do not want this, but it's nothing we can do. Um, so I'm gonna share this link on my Twitter, like I always do. I'm gonna share this link on Facebook as well. So please, as you enter, hit thumbs up, please. Hit thumbs up. All right, so I'm sharing this to Twitter now. Follow me on my Twitter page. Follow me on my TikTok page. Okay. And also right here locally in my city of Cincinnati, prayers, we had a unfortunate situation. At first I thought it was Club Annie's, a club that I used to frequent with my best friend JC and Mitchell and a couple of other guys. Um, Annie's was a spot that I went to when I was in my 20s and in my 30s. Um, Well, I guess not too far from there, there's another club off of Kellogg Avenue called Riverfront or something like that. So that's where the mass shooting took place. I believe 13 people injured, but no reports of any lives lost, which is a great thing. But it's still a tragedy um, for a person to shoot up the club like that. But I'm just happy that I'm an older guy that I don't have the urge or impulse to go out like I used to in my younger years. So prayers to everybody who was affected in that traumatic situation. And like I said, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Also on the chat, slide over and hit the hype button. All right. So now eventually I want to talk about 6 or 7 heavyweight matches that are going to be happening. But before I do that, I want to just do a little bit of talking about some things that have been very have been in heavy rotation, that have been on heavy rotation on the social media circuit. Hey, what's going on? I don't know who that is. I don't know who Danny is, but hello everyone, and thank you for being here. All right, so I saw this on Fight Hub TV, PBF. And these are the words of Eddie Hearn. Uh, he says, "It's not the type of fight I would have put Connor in because I was looking for big fights and I want him to become a world champion. It doesn't really make sense." Talking about the upcoming fight with Connor Ben over in the UK, who would be fighting the American fighter who is on Golden Boy, and has one more Golden Boy fight after this fight. Regis Prograis. T Hill, salute. Also, in boxing news, um, in the words of Terrence Bud Crawford, who is now retired, he says, he's speaking of Shakur Stevenson. He said he will be an all time great. All he has to do is keep doing what he's doing and stay focused. If you have an opinion on that, let me know in the chat room. Um, yep, Rougarou, absolutely. I had a chance to watch a couple fights last night. I linked in with my cousin with Cam J on his StreamYard, and we kind of looked at a couple of highlights and fights and stuff. Um, and Camille Moulton did his thing last night. Um, he was the victor and the winner. He made pretty short work of his opponent, but a lot of people are talking about his weight. Where is he actually going to campaign at? He is a big, little, stocky dude, Camille Moulton, and he did his thing last night. He did what he was supposed to do. He got the stoppage in dramatic fashion, and we kind of flipped back and forth, um, and was able to see a few other fights as well. Um, and I'm gonna keep it real. I was had a long day, so I was kind of somewhat tired, but I did get to what uh, JR. I am talking boxing. This is a boxing podcast. That's what I do. This is boxing, a boxing podcast. So let me know what you think about this Regis Prograis versus Conor Ben over in the UK. What do y'all feel about that? The first fight for these guys on Zuffa on Netflix, and they will be fighting in the UK. So let me know what you think about that. Also, in boxing news, I saw some of the footage of David Benavidez, and it was a um, very respectful clip with him and Ja Pataya, the cruiserweight Ja Pataya, who will be fighting Brandon Glanton soon. Um, and pretty much David Benavidez said, "Hey, I got a lot of respect for you," talking about Ja Pataya, but he says, "I want to share the ring with you. I want the fight to happen between me and you." So I got to respect that out of David Benavidez because he's the type of fighter who ducks no smoke, and a lot of times he's overly analyzed and overly criticized. I don't think he gets the props that he deserves, and he wants to fight the best, and he wants for his fans and just boxing fans in general to see the best fighting the best and give people what they want. So whoever they think is one of the best, whether it's Baturviev, whether it's Bivol, whether it's Japataya, these are the guys that David Benavidez has been calling out. So much props to David Benavidez. All right, so let me talk a little bit about. All right, y'all. So something else I seen in circulation on social media is the strong potential matchup that's in negotiations with Edgar Berlanga, 23-2 with 18 KOs, versus Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubanks, 35 wins, 4 losses, by which 25 are knockout. So that fight is in negotiations. Um, and as I read here, it says Chris Eubank Jr. He wants a catch weight of 164, but Berlanga is firm he cannot go lower than 168 pounds. So hopefully, Eubanks can just go ahead and fight at 168 and get this fight going. Why not? Something I saw that Johnny Nelson said pertaining to Tyson Fury, which Tyson Fury is who I'm going to bring up later on in this segment. But I've seen Johnny Johnny Nelson said it. I see the guys over at Talk Sports like Simon and a few other on their panel. They have this thing where they always say Tyson Fury is the second best heavyweight in the world. I digress because it's almost uh like they're trying to project the fact that he's the second best heavyweight when in reality he has not fought a lot of people. There's a lot of people that he still needs to fight, certain style fighters, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you got heating up in the heavyweight division, Wardley and Dubois. So whoever that winner is, if Tyson Fury claims he's the top guy and the second best after Usyk, who beat him, then fight the winner of Dubois versus Wardley. You even got Ajit Cabiel out there, but from what I'm hearing, Tyson Fury's playing the "this is one of my friends" like he does with Joseph Parker, so we won't see Ajit Cabiel versus Tyson Fury. So that's not just one guy, as if Joseph Parker wasn't enough. Now Tyson Fury's claiming that Ajit Cabiel is buddy buddy, so they can't fight each other. And this is a situation we deal with a lot in boxing. That these guys acting like they brothers, they're friends, they're whatever level. But come on, sometimes the money has to talk. Look at Zab Judah back in the day when he fought Floyd Mayweather. Didn't think they would necessarily fight, but they end up fighting. And you can still have that respect and that love. You know what I'm saying? Um, so that's just what it is, man. And please hit that thumbs up, please. All right. Now Cam J, you said we are on a no brotherly love campaign in boxing currently. Man, because it's definitely starting to water down, and a lot of fights we don't get to see because of this shenanigans. Because everybody wants to play the buddy buddy role. Um, so last night, we saw Elijah Pierce, and the first things I was starting to notice was his defense. You know what I'm saying? Kind of being somewhat lackadaisical in his defense. Um, so stepping in the ring, of course, he was 21 wins, 17 knockouts, and 2 losses, and unfortunately received a third loss last night. He has an 80% knockout ratio. He's a southpaw out of Oklahoma. Now Lorenzo Paro, the I believe a Venezuelan fighter, was 23-1-1. Paro had a 75% knockout ratio. So the problem I had was the way that um, Elijah Pierce had his hands down too much. He wasn't having his guards up like he needed to. He had his hands low and his face exposed so many times. Um, and he should have tried to stay in the center of the ring a lot more, keep circling around his opponent or whatever, and try to stay in the center of the ring as much as he could. But he kept going back towards the rope, and that was the wrong thing to do. Um, and as we saw in the second round, he went back to that corner with his back, what I'm saying, getting pressed back by Pyro, and then Pyro just started unloading on him. He caught him with a left and then a right hook, and then just kept coming as he kept unleashing a plethora of punches. Um, Elijah Pierce slid down the ropes, and once he kind of got up, you could tell he was so so buzzed or whatever. Once he stood up, he kind of fell right back down and rolled back over. You know what I'm saying? Now I know after the fight he said he was okay to still fight, but I think in the best interest of his safety, the ref did the right thing to waive the fight off because he got hit with some good clean punches, and it wasn't like he had no protection. Like he was just sliding down the ropes and he just catching punches or whatever. I think the ref did the right thing to stop the fight. So he didn't sustain just sustain taking a prolonged beating or whatever. And he did kind of say after the fight when I saw one of his interviews that he running back, that he would be willing to fight Pero again. So I gotta respect that because if you look at the Devin Haney situation, which was slightly different because you had an Osterine situation in the mix of it all. But the underlying fact was it took so long for Devin Haney, it seems like, to want to run this fight back with um, Ryan Garcia. You almost start to think he was being somewhat apprehensive. Where here you got Elijah Pierce, who was stopped in 2 rounds, and he's saying, well, hey, I would love to get a rematch with him, or I will build myself back up and hopefully fight him again. And that's what you want to see, that type of desire, that type of passion to say, hey, I did lose, but I want my get back. So respect to Elijah Pierce for having that type of mentality. Yes, he did lose, but hey, he's willing to fight the guy again. He feels like he can make the necessary adjustments and he will learn from his mistakes. So I have nothing but respect for him for having that type of mindset. Also, the main event on the DAZN card, on the other card, with Sugar Nunez and Navarrete, um, I was able to go back and watch the fight because I had fell asleep on that main event. Um, so that was a good fight. That was action. Back and forth with Sugar Nunez and Navarrete. They were going back and forth. But what I did notice from the beginning was the speed, the hand speed, the movement of Navarrete was a lot better than that of his opponent. You know what I'm saying? Um, Nunez had some good moments in the fight, but Navarrete just kind of always stayed a step ahead of him. And so hey, what's going on, Sean C? Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I do have sleep apnea, but I do have a machine. But I fell asleep on the couch, and I didn't use the machine the night before, so I kind of felt drained. Whenever I don't use my machine, I feel drained or whatever. But to anybody who has a sleep pat machine, yeah, definitely try to always wear it as much as you can. And if you can use it every night or travel with it, do so because it makes a lot of difference. Um, so yeah, what did y'all think about that? That Navarrete versus Nunez. There's definitely a lot of action. I believe stopped in like round 9 or 10. And pretty much the fact that Nunez kept taking the same punch from from Navarrete that was catching him on the eye, and his eye started getting puffy and started to shut, and they had to stop the fight. But it was definitely an action-packed fight. Definitely the type of fight that's worth a person going back and if it's on YouTube, play that fight back because you will enjoy it. It was a very good action-packed fight, and Navarrete um, he retains his WBO title, and he claimed Sugar Nunez IBF strap. So um, good work from Navarrete, and hats off to both guys because both guys was definitely warriors in that ring, and they let it all hang out. And actually, the stoppage was right as the beginning of 11, round 11 is where it got stopped. All right. What's going on, Cam J? Cam J, if you can hear me, see what happens if you can jump on here. Let me see if I can do that, Cam J. You know I'm not tech savvy, so let me see if I can do it. Give me a second. Yeah, unfortunately, cause I don't think I can. Um, Next time I will try to figure out a way. I think I have an idea of what I should have done, but I won't be able to do it at this particular time. But I think I know what I need to do in future regards. And we'll talk about it after the show. I'm gonna call you because I think I know what I need to do next time. But please hype up the video. Slide over on the comment section and hit hype and hit the thumbs up. Sean C, I appreciate you. Hit the thumbs up and slide over Sean C and hit the hype button for me, fam. Appreciate you following through. All right, so I'm gonna jump over into the heavyweight division, and there's like six fights I want to talk about, and a seventh potential fight. So the potential fight I will talk about first. All right, so in circulation, I've seen a few posts, but this one is on Boxing Scene. Dave Allen, who came off a loss from Arslanbek Makhmedov, in which Tyson Fury will be fighting Arslanbek Makhmedov. Well, Dave Allen says, I think me versus Zilly Zhang is going to happen. We've spoke about it, and I'm happy to do it as well. Words of Dave Allen. Now, Dave Allen, don't get me wrong, I think he'll fight anybody. So, in that regard, I do respect the fact that he'll fight anybody, but he's just not the type of guy to where I think Zilly Zhang is all wrong for him. Southpaw, really, really great power, physicality, size, and all that. Dave Allen, to me, is not the level of a Joseph Parker. And we saw how hard it was for Joseph Parker to beat Zilly Zhang. What's going on, Graham? What's going on? We saw what Joseph Parker had to do and the type of we'll use it like a let me think. Okay, just say like the ocean tide. There's a very, very strong current. Well, Joseph Parker was in that current when he fought Zilly Zhang. He was dropped once or twice and somehow got back to his feet and was able to win the fight. But he literally had to put it all on the line. Joseph Parker has great boxing ability. He has decent power, not just like crazy power, but it's still decent power. He has pretty good footwork. He has a good boxing brain, a boxing IQ, and he understands. Now, he had to go through all that just to beat Zilly Zhang. I don't think Dave Allen has that in him. I definitely feel like Zilly Zhang is going to knock out Dave Allen if they do fight. I think Zilly Zhang will knock out Dave Allen in 3 or 4 rounds. We even saw Ajit Kabiel get leveled by Zilly Zhang and got back up, what I'm saying, to win the fight by breaking down the body of Zilly Zhang. I just don't think that Dave Allen's on the level of an Ajit Kabiel, and he's not even on the level of Joseph Parker. And I would say maybe Kabiel is, a step or two above Parker. So I don't know. What do y'all think about that? Dave Allen versus Zilly Zhang. I definitely see Zilly Zhang knocking him out. Shout outs to Adam Hurley. What's going on? Salute. Please hit the thumbs up, y'all. I appreciate it, y'all. Hit the thumbs up. Also, slide over, Graham. Slide over in the comments and hit the hype button. Anybody can, but just slide over on the comment and hit the hype button. Graham, you said Zhang stops Allen round 7. Yeah, I got him stopping him earlier than that. I'm thinking no more than 5 rounds that Zilly Zhang would destroy um, Dave Allen. So that's the number one. So I mean, I'm not saying that's the best fight. But I'm saying that's the first fight I'm going to talk about as far as heavyweights. All right. Let's also talk about our second fight. Frank Sanchez versus Richard Torres Jr. March 28th, 2026 in Vegas, USA. What do you feel about Frank Sanchez versus Richard Torres Jr. in the heavyweight division? Um, that's definitely a good style matchup. I just don't know what version of Frank Sanchez we're going to get. You know, one thing about Frank Sanchez, they call him the Cuban Flash, and we know that he has good mobility. We saw him beat Efe Ajagba because of his footwork, his agility, all that kind of stuff. We saw him a few fights later with a I think an injured knee or injured ankle or something, and you could see that the mobility wasn't the same. So if we don't get a fully healthy Frank Sanchez, I think it's going to be slow for him. I really feel like it's going to be slow for Frank Sanchez if he's not 100%, where he can move around because that's what he's known for. He's the Cuban Flash for a reason. He gets in and out, and he still has, he has honest power. But I think Richard Torres will cut off the ring a lot easier if Frank Sanchez can't use any type of angles or if he can't, circle back out when he's in trouble because his leg, um, he may get stopped. He may get stopped late. Frank Sanchez may get stopped in the later rounds versus Richard Torres Jr. But I want to know your prediction. So let me know in the chat room. Let me know your prediction. Dave Allen versus Zilly Zhang, a potential fight. Let me know what you feel about the Frank Sanchez versus Richard Torres Jr. on March 28th in Vegas. Let me know. All right, so fight number 3 in the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. April 11th of this year, 2026, in London, UK, on Netflix at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Who wins between Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, versus Arslanbek Makhmudov? Adam Hurley, you said I got Torres with 8th stoppage and Zhang with 6th round KO. Okay, okay. I like that right there. Yep, I think about the same, man. I think Torres will stop um, Frank Sanchez because I just don't feel like he's fully healed. And if he can't be mobile like he normally is, it ain't gonna be good. Um, you said Zhang and 6. Yep, I would say maybe even 4, but maybe 5. But yeah, I could work with that round 6. What about Adam Hurley? What about Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov? I feel like Tyson Fury knows a guy that's really strong, like a Francis Ngannou, for instance. A person he can't really bully, and that's going to be stronger, like strength wise. He's just going to stick and move. If he feels like a boxer that he can't push on the back foot like Deontay Wilder, and they have a very strong foundation, and they're willing to, tussle with him a little bit in the clinch, I think Tyson Fury is going to dance around and just, hit, stick, and move when he fights Arslanbek Makhmudov. So he'll likely win a points decision. I don't even know if the gas tank of Arslanbek Makhmudov um, will fail him or not. I don't know if his gas tank will be enough for him to sustain Tyson Fury, a person who moves like he moves. He's going to have to chase down Tyson Fury, I think. So he could gas himself out. Adam Hurley, Fury with unanimous decision. Graham, you said Sanchez won't survive the 6th. Graham, Fury unanimous decision. Yeah, I'm leaning towards a decision win for Fury. All right, y'all. Fight number 4 in the heavyweight division. Moses Ntuma versus Jermaine Franklin, March 28th, 2026, in Manchester, UK, on the Zone. How does this fight go? It's an interesting style matchup. And for us that know the last few fights of Jermaine Franklin. We know he's durable. We know he has a good chin. We know he's kind of cagey. He's kind of a little bit awkward and slippery. I guess the question is, will Moses Atuma be the first heavyweight to stop or knock out Jermaine Franklin? Again, Jermaine Franklin has never been dropped as a pro, and he's never been stopped. So, do you feel like Moses Atuma would be the first to stop um, Jermaine Franklin? I know in another episode, my cousin KMJ said he feels like Moses Atuma will pack up Jermaine Franklin, like he will knock him spark out. Adam Hurley, Franklin never been KO'd, not even by AJ, but I think he gets TKO'd by Moses in the late round. Okay, okay. Good perspective, man. Good perspective for sure. Um, all right. So T Hill, I don't know if you're still there, my guy, but if you are, let me know what you feel about your predictions on these fights. Frank Sanchez versus Richard Torres Jr., Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmadov, Moses Atuma versus Jermaine Franklin, and a potential fight, Dave Allen versus Zilly Zhang. Let me know your prediction. All right. Fight number 5 in the heavyweight division. Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder versus Derek Chisora. April the 4th, 2026 at the O2 Arena in London, England. I definitely can't wait for this one. It's going to be fireworks. Two guys that are punchers in their own right. Deontay Wilder, a one-hitter quitter puncher, and Derek Chisora, a pressure fighter that breaks you down and keeps coming forward. This is going to be a good style matchup. Who do you think is going to win and how? Deontay Wilder versus Del Boy. Graham, you said be interesting to see if Intoma can take Franklin out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Graham, you said Chisora retires on a high. So you think his 50th fight, he'll win? He'll beat Wilder. How do you think he'll win? Adam Hurley, you said Wilder actually tends to come through in fights like this. I got Wilder. Okay, that's what's up, Adam. What do you feel like? Do you think? I mean, we got two guys who can really punch. You think Wilder's going to knock him out or be by a stoppage? Uh, Graham, you said Derek Del Boy wins by decision. Okay, that's interesting, man. That's interesting. All right, fight number 6. Lawrence Okolie versus Tony Yoka on April the 25th in Paris, France, at the Adidas Arena. What do y'all feel about that? Lawrence Okolie versus Tony Yoka. Who wins and how? And what's your prediction? Now, the last fight that Lawrence Okolie had, he stopped Ebenezer Tete, which I figured he would. I figured he's going to stop Ebenezer Tete. So that really didn't shock me or surprise me because that's what I felt was going to happen. And since we're talking Tony Yoka, let's go ahead and look at what he's been doing as of late. All right, Tony Yoka, 15 wins, 12 by KO, 3 losses, and no draws. Tony Yoka has a 80% KO ratio. Um, he's from Paris, France. Adam Hurley, you said Yoka got some close fights early in his career. He's been better since, but I think he loses another close one. All right. So as I look through his resume of Tony Yoka, the only person that particularly sticks out to me is back in 2023, he fought Carlos Takam, who AJ fought, and I want to say Joe Joyce had fought Carlos Takam as well. Almost by KO, 1 loss, no draws. He has a 73% knockout ratio. Um, from Hackney, London, United Kingdom. Um, like I said, back last year he fought Ebenezer Tete, beat him. He also fought Kevin Lorena, the same Kevin Lorena that buckled and hurt Daniel Dubois. He dropped Dubois a few times when they fought. Uh, and I want to say Kevin Lorena, I think he spars with Tyson Fury, if I'm not mistaken. And Kevin Lorena himself, although he may not be very well known, he's fought some pretty good names on his resume. But we have Okoli, like I said, in 25 last year, he wins over Ebenezer Tete. He beat Kevin Lorena in 2025 in that same year. He fought Chris Billum Smith in 2023 and lost by a majority decision. Chris Billum Smith actually beat. He was the only one to beat Lawrence Okoli. So that would be, like I said, I see it as a 50-50 fight, evenly matched between those two. All right. So heavyweight fight. This will be the last heavyweight fight, number 7. is probably my personal favorite of all these. These are all some good heavyweight matchups. But to me, I'll say the best for last, in my opinion. But let me know in the chat room, out of all these heavyweight fights, which is your favorite, your personal favorite. But this is my personal favorite. Fabio Wardley, the WBO champ, versus Daniel Dynamite Dubois for Wardley's WBO belt being put on the line on March the 9th, 2026 at the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester, England. Who wins between Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois? They call it Don't Blink because just that fast, somebody will be on the campus. This is a very interesting fight. Um, so let's just talk about their resumes real quick. Let me pull these up real quick so we can just dive in a quick second on the resume. We'll go with Fabio Wardley first. You said Dubois stops Wardley. Okay, okay, Graham. Respect, respect. All right, so let's go into Fabio Wardley's resume, y'all. Um, Fabio Wardley, 20 wins. 19 of his 20 wins are by knockouts. No losses and one draw. So just think about that. 20 wins, 19 by KO. That gives him a 95% knockout ratio. Fabio Wardley out of Ipswich, United Kingdom, age 31, 6'5", orthodox stance with a 78-inch reach. So let's go back as he started to build up. We'll go back as far as the year of 2021. He fought Eric Molina. If y'all remember Eric Molina, that's a guy that Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua both had fought. Back in 21, um, Fabio Wardley won by knockout. Moving forward to 2023, he fought a pretty tough opponent, David Adelaide. At the time, was 12 wins and no losses, and he won by TKO stoppage over David Adelaide. In 2024, Frazier Clark, the first fight, it goes to a draw, a split decision draw. Frazier Clark at the time was 8 wins and no losses. And then the rematch, Frazier Clark and Fabio Wardley. It went from a decision fight to the rematch of Fabio Wardley turning up the pace a lot earlier in the rematch. Sometimes he could be a slower starter, like he did with Justice Huey. Not when he fought Frazier Clark in the rematch. Fabio Wardley went straight in there and stopped. He stopped Frazier Clark in a dramatic fashion in the rematch. So I'm wondering, is this the version of Fabio Wardley we see against Dubois? He needs to react fast. When you fight another KO puncher with a high knockout ratio, the art of that is to land first, to land flush first. So we're going to see. This is going to be a very interesting fight. And then the next year after that, in 2025, he fights Justice Huey, who was 12 wins, no losses, no draws, and wins by uh, KO in the later rounds. If y'all remember, Justice Huey, but keep in mind, Justice Huey is more or less a boxer. So he was using his speed, his agility, and all the attributes he had. And he did some brawling. He would stick and move. He was in there in the trenches a lot. Well, he was able to do that, but then as the later rounds came, um, Fabio Wardley lined him up and caught him, I believe, with his right hand, and it was over. So we're talking about a guy who can be down on the scorecards and boom, just that quick, it's over. Now, in the same aspect, Dubois has the same type of power. So you're talking about two guys with massive power. In 2025, he fights Joseph Parker. Much like Justice Huey, Joseph Parker was given dishing a lot out on Fabio Wardley. And as the rounds went down, and then um, Fabio Wardley starts to kick into his rhythm, Fabio Wardley stops Joseph Parker, just like he stopped Justice Huey, just like he stopped Frazier Clark in the rematch. And now he will face Daniel Dubois. Now let's look at the resume of Daniel Dynamite Dubois. Dubois, 22 wins, 21 by way of knockout, 3 losses, and no draws. Dubois has a 95% knockout ratio. So these guys both have a 95% KO ratio. That's why it's called Don't Blink. Dubois is age 28, 6'5", with a 78-inch reach. So Dubois is 6'5", age 28, 78-inch reach. So let me go back to Wardley real quick. Wardley is age 20. I mean, he's 31. So he's about 3 years older than Dubois, 3 years, but still both guys are pretty young. And they're both about the same height, 6'5", and they both have 78-inch reach. So that's crazy. Pretty much Fabio and Dubois are the same height, they have the same reach, and they have the same knockout ratio. That's crazy. All right, so let's go back in Dubois' resume to kind of build up this this blockbuster of a fight. All right, so back in 2020, this was the very first loss of Dubois, who was still kind of, building himself up to an extent. So he fought Joe Joyce back in 2020. At the time, Joe Joyce was 11 wins, no losses, and no draws. And if you recall, Dubois had no answer for Joe Joyce, who was a much slower puncher, not necessarily really slow on his feet, but his release of his punch to reach his target is pretty slow. Well, Joe Joyce was able to connect in time in his timing, and he kept hitting Dubois with the same repeated punch over and over, and Dubois never had any answer for it. So, as a consequence to him having no adjustment or no defensive game plan, we saw the eye of Dubois get very, very swollen, and the fight was stopped. So that was the very first time that Dubois had lost. Now, in 2022, he fought a Don King fighter, Trevor Bryan. Trevor Bryan was 22 losses, no draws. Um, I pretty much called that right. I knew Dubois was going to stop him, and just like I predicted, he won by knockout over Trevor Bryan. In that same year, he fought Kevin Lorena, the guy I just talked about a second ago. Um, and Kevin Lorena at the time was 28-1-0. And I want to say Kevin Lorena fought at cruiserweight for a while before moving up to heavyweight. Well, anyway, Lorena had dropped Dubois multiple times, and that was the fight in particular where they said Dubois was suffering a leg injury or something like that. But Dubois weathered the storm, and he did stop and TKO Kevin Lorena. In 2023, it was Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois, the first fight. Um, this was the second loss of Dubois. At the time, Usyk was 20 wins, no losses, no draws. We all know Usyk has never lost, and he is a tricky southpaw. So I can't really be too hard on Dubois for losing to Usyk because Usyk has also beat Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, Derek Chisora. Um, so he does get a little grace on that one because hey, everybody's been losing to Usyk, so you can't look down on him for losing to who we say is one of the best in this generation as far as heavyweights. In 2023, later that same year, he fights Jarrell Big Baby Miller, and Dubois wins by TKO. I didn't like the stoppage in that particular fight. Yes, Dubois had the upper hand and was clearly winning most of the rounds at the time. Jarrell Miller was 26 wins, no losses, and one draw. But I don't think it should have been a TKO stoppage. It was the very last round and maybe like 10 seconds left, and they stopped the fight. I'm like, it's only 10 seconds left in the very final round. Let the 10 seconds, play out. But they end up stopping the fight right towards the end of that final round. Um, the following year, 2024, Dubois fights Philip Herkovic, 17 wins at the time, no losses and no draws. So Dubois did give Jarrell Miller his very first loss. He did give Trevor Bryan his very first loss. He did give Philip Herkovic his very first loss. Um, and then in 2024, after fighting Philip Herkovic, he fought Anthony AJ Joshua, who was at 28 wins, three losses, and no draws. Anthony Joshua himself has an 89% knockout ratio. So he's about, um, Dubois is about 6% higher knockout ratio, slightly higher than AJ. Saying that to say, Anthony Joshua is also a knockout puncher. But what we saw in this fight was the difference in this fight was who would land first and who would land the first flush punch. And as we saw when when Dubois threw his overhand right and Anthony Joshua was moving back in a straight line, that overhand punch clipped him right there, clean on the chin. And at that point, it was over. I mean, AJ, he stuck in there just by instinct and heart, but you could tell it was over when he caught that flush punch from Dubois with all the weight behind Dubois coming forward. He just never recovered. But Anthony Joshua did stick in there and actually was able to hurt Dubois for a second, but Dubois shook it off, probably with the adrenaline pumped in him, and knowing that he already had a hurt Anthony Joshua, he wasn't going to let that opportunity slip away, and he knocked out Anthony Joshua. So actually, the first person to ever knock out Anthony Joshua is Daniel Dubois. Ruiz stopped Anthony Joshua, but actually, um, he was actually knocked out cold by Daniel Dubois. In 2025, the rematch with Usyk versus Dubois. Usyk was then 23 wins, no losses, and no draws. Usyk has a knockout ratio of 62%. So, as we know, when it comes to the heavyweights, Usyk does not have a high knockout ratio. Most of his knockouts came when he was a cruiserweight. However, Daniel Dubois is the exception as he was knocked out in the rematch by Dubois and then Chaz Witherspoon, um, the very, very first fight of Usyk. He stopped him by TKO. Frank Renda, you said Operation Epstein Fury. So, what do you feel about Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov? Who do you think is going to win that? And in response to Graham, I don't know, man. I mean, this Dubois versus Wardley, to me, in my opinion, I feel like yes, Dubois can definitely win because we know he can hit. He has a 95% knockout ratio. But we can't overlook the fact that Frazier Clark, not Frazier Clark, but that Fabio Wardley also has a 95% knockout ratio. So both of these guys, either guy can knock out the other guy, basically. My thing is, I think it's going to personally come down to who has more up here, who's going to show more resilience. We've seen frustration in Daniel Dubois, frustrated when he fought um, Usyk the first fight. He was frustrated. In the second fight, he gets dropped once, gets back up, and then gets leveled all the way out. Um, I just feel like I don't want to be unfair in my assessment, but we can only go by what we've been presented with. And what we've seen with Dubois is in certain situations, frustration gets the best of Dubois, and he seems to kind of start to have a meltdown, or he'll just cave in, and he won't want to continue. I feel like Fabio Worley, knowing that, kind of gives him a bonus to an extent, because we've never seen Wardley be frustrated. We've seen him in deep waters when he fought Parker. We saw him in deep waters with Huney when he didn't have things going his way necessarily. He didn't give up. He didn't get frustrated. He just stuck in there until his opportunity came, and boom. You know what I'm saying? He did what he needed to do to win these fights. This fight in particular with Dubois versus Fabio Wardley is going to be fireworks. It's definitely going to be fireworks, and I'm here for it, and I can't wait. So right before I leave here, before I sign off for the night, I'm gonna just go through that list one more time, just for those who catch this episode tomorrow, or if you play it back and you didn't catch this episode tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and ask your predictions for each fight. Let me know in the chat, either in the chat room or let me know in the comment section. The first potential fight is Dave Allen versus Zilly Zhang. Give me your prediction. Number two, Frank Sanchez versus Richard Torres Jr. Give me your prediction, your assessment. Fight number three, Tyson Fury versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. What's your prediction, your assessment? Uh, Fight number 4, Moses Ntuma versus Jermaine Franklin. What's your prediction? What's your assessment? Fight number 5 in the heavyweight division, Deontay Wilder versus Derek Chisora. What's your prediction or your assessment? Fight number 6, Lawrence Okoli versus Tony Yoka. What's your prediction? What's your assessment? And last but not least, Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dynamite Dubois. What's your prediction? What's what's your assessment on that matchup? Let me know. Graham, you said Triple D has the better resume, but can quit when frustrated. Worley hasn't fought top guys other than Parker. I'm unsure if Worley can take DDD's power. Well, I guess I understand what you're saying about the power of Dubois, but can Dubois take the power of Worley? When has Dubois fought somebody who's connected on him first that has the power that Worley has? You know, um, Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller has a good punch output, a high volume puncher or whatever, but he's not a necessarily a one hitter quitter type level of power. Um, what's his name? Philip Hergovic. He has decent power, but he's not like that one hitter. You know what I'm saying? Iron you out puncher. So Dubois is going to really be tested with a person who hits just as hard as himself. So if Dubois has to taste the power of Wardley first, how will he take it? And although Parker is the best name on the resume of Fabio Wardley, I mean Justice Huni is not a terrible opponent. I would say Justice Huni is probably the same level of maybe when Dubois fought Kevin Lorena. So I don't know, man. It's definitely to me, it's gonna come down to, in my opinion, the frustration. You know, if Dubois gets frustrated and things don't go his way, is he gonna want to throw his hands up and be done and want the towel thrown in? Um, and that's kind of where I'm at with it in particular. But it's gonna be a very good fight. So I'm pretty sure like they say, "Don't Blink" is the best name they could have came up with because it's not going to see the final bell. All right, y'all. So I appreciate everybody who came through. If you're just coming here, please hit the thumbs up button. I'm about to sign off here shortly. Also, if you're on TikTok, um, let me know. If you're on Twitter, follow my Twitter, follow my TikTok, because I'm going to be always going to be on Facebook, but I'm going to be on Facebook less, and I'm going to be on Twitter and TikTok a little more. And also on your social media, IG, Facebook, or whatever, or Twitter, if you see my link for this show, just share it and let some of your friends know. If you go to the gym or you're having a fight party, let them know about Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. Going live every Sunday in the USA, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, like I said, I will be trying to go live a lot more on Saturday morning over here in the USA, which if I go like roughly around 11 a.m. in the UK, that's like 4 p.m. So I'm gonna start doing my Saturday shows as much as I can. And I'm gonna try to see if I can sneak in a couple of one or two episodes throughout the week day as well. Also, on some of the weekends, don't be surprised if you see two shows in one day. like I did last time when I had Giorgio Asala on a Sunday morning USA time here. I also still did my 6 p.m. that same day. So pretty soon I am going to be having more special guests on the platform. Um, I've been in heavy talks with a couple of guys. So just make sure you stay tuned. And like I said, I really want to thank everybody who's been showing me the love over these past 2.5 years. This May of this year will be Ring Walk Boxing Podcast 3 year anniversary. So I'm almost 3 years in, y'all, and everything is moving nice and steady. So make sure you hit the thumbs up, slide over, hit the hype button, please. And like I said, share this link. Tell a friend or three. Like I always say, shout out to my Zone 15 family, Zone 15, Ohio, my Cincinnati family, wherever you are, from Madisonville down the way, um, up in Hamilton, Ohio, you know what I'm saying, Middletown, all the family on the Carter side, Lackey side, Ryerson, Daniels, Laurie, Price, Stones, all my family in all around the United States as well. Shout out to my family down south as well and the West Coast. Um, yeah, just share this link, man. I want to get the word out there. And like I said, I'm going to be having some very, very dope interviews coming up this year. I said 2026 is going to definitely be the year. Okay, right here where you're talking in this chat, slide this chat over. It'll say hype. I'll stay on here until you find it. Uh, Graham, I appreciate you, mate. I appreciate you for sure, man. Like I said, this year, 2026, we're going to be having more interviews. So definitely tune in. Please subscribe. Once I get it all verified and confirmed, we will share the link or some type of post to let you know. But it's definitely going down. Um, okay, you said it's not doing anything. Hey Cam J, ain't that how you do the hype? You slide over. Hold on. Let me go to my other phone real quick and let me see if I can find it. Hold on 1 second, Graham. Sweet Jones, what's going on, cuzzo? Please hit the thumbs up. Hit the hype button. Let me get on my YouTube and see if I can figure it out while we still on live real quick. Let me see. Okay. Let me uh let me go to somebody else's video real quick and see if I can do it. Okay, you said it won't let you hype either. Okay. Let me see if I can figure it out. Oh, okay. Go to the comment. Go to the actual comments. So maybe after the video plays, go to the comment and slide over to the left. When you slide over in the oh, and if I didn't mention one more thing, I'll talk about since we talked about a lot of heavyweights. Let me talk about Jai Pataya, the cruiserweight. Um, his fight will be next week. So Jai Pataya versus Brandon Glanton. I did go back and watch some fights, a couple of PBC fights, a couple of Pro Box TV fights, and I saw Brendan Glanton. Um, I'm gonna do some more, film study throughout the week, but he looks like he got a lot of power. He's a dangerous dude. I don't think this is gonna be a walk in the park for Ja Apataya in particular. I think Ja Apataya is going to have to be careful. Now, I definitely feel he's the more skillful. The speed, the footwork, and certain stuff like that. He has that aspect, but Brendan Glanton has some. He has some serious power, and he does execute body punches to the body very well. So that's going to be a good style matchup, And I know when I seen a small clip with Brandon Glanton, he said he was happy for the opportunity because he didn't think people knew who he was all like that. Because I in particular, I didn't know who Brandon Glanton was until now. But I went back and saw his highlights and saw like one or two of his last fights, and he has some power, some power that can definitely trouble Ja Apataya. So let me know what y'all think about that. That fight on Zuffa, Ja Pataya versus Brandon Glanton. If you've never seen Brandon Glanton, look him up on YouTube. First name Brandon, last name Glanton. Look up some of his highlights and come back later on and comment. It could be later on this week or whatever, but look up Brandon Glanton and let me know what you think in the chat or actually in the comments. All right. So, everyone, be safe. Have a good rest of your night, and I will catch you on the next round. Peace.